Greetings, wizards. Welcome to the Papercraft Wizard channel. My name is Kelly, and I really appreciate you being here. This is the final video for the Fairie Dust mini album tutorial. Start with 16 strips of cardstock measuring 5 1/8 by 1/4 inch. We'll adhere 4 strips together and we'll end up with 4 strips of 4 strips. Here we have our 4 strips that we created by gluing 4 strips together to make it. Next, we'll take a piece of cardstock measuring 5 1/8 by 4 1/2, and we're going to measure 1/4 inch in on the top and bottom of this piece and leave 1/4 inch on each side. I'm using this cutting board to get to that 1/4 inch inside part and trim that off without trimming off the 1/4 inch edges. You can always use a straight edge and a ruler if you don't have this type of cutting tool. Being very careful to ensure that I don't cut off those 1/4 inch tabs on the sides. Now that we have our cardstock piece cut just right, we can add our 1/4 inch strips. We'll adhere these strips to all 4 of the sides of this cardstock piece. I'll cut a piece from a plastic bag. This piece is 4 1/8 inch by 10 1/2 inches. And we'll go ahead and create a belt. Recommend turning off any fans that may be on in the room. Before we add the belt, I'm going to use my static tool just to add some powder to make sure that our mechanism moves freely. This is just some baby powder with a little brush on it. If you have a static bag, that will work as well. If you don't have a static bag or baby powder around to sprinkle on just that portion of the cardstock, you could always use a fabric softener sheet as well. We use some double-sided tape to adhere the plastic to itself. We want to ensure that the plastic is as straight as possible. When adhering, we want to make sure that the plastic is snug, but not so tight that it won't move. Now that we have that secure, we'll go ahead and remove the excess plastic. Let's give it a little test and see how it moves. Once we're satisfied, we'll move on to adding our little pull-out pieces. We'll use 2 pieces of cardstock measuring 4 7/8 by 3 7/8. One will be secured to the bottom and one will be secured to the top. I'm going to add some double-sided tape to the top of one of the pieces of cardstock and to the bottom of the other. In retrospect, I wish I would have used 1/4 inch tape. This 1/2 inch tape ends up being just a little too thick. It may also be easier to put the double-sided tape onto the plastic instead of onto the cardstock, though that does have its own set of challenges as well. We'll use 2 pieces of decorative cardstock measuring 3 7/8 inches by 1/2 inch, and those will be our tuck spots for the photos that we add. Creating a tuck spot for our photos ensures that our photos don't get hung up in the mechanism. I'll use some Distress Oxide and my camera stamp to indicate that a picture can be adhered there. Realized that I put my camera in the wrong spot, so I just flip it over and put the camera in the right spot. We can remove the adhesive backing from our first piece and adhere that to our mechanism. I was a little worried that my adhesive went a little too far over the edge and would go past the plastic, so I used my static tool to deactivate that adhesive. We want to make sure that this is nice and lined up before we adhere it to the plastic. Once we pull this down, we can see our tuck spot will probably not be very visible once we get that cover piece on. Generally, I do like the tuck spot to be exposed just a little bit more to make it obvious that that's where a photo would slide into before adhering it. However, if you're using this photo album for yourself, you'll already know that. But if you're gifting it or selling it, I would recommend using the 1/4" tape instead of the 1/2" tape. I'll use some adhesive and adhere this pull tab we created earlier to the bottom center of our bottom cardstock piece. I will add some double-sided tape to our second cardstock piece. We'll add this at the bottom, right over that tuck spot. The mechanism closed up and upside down. We'll adhere that second piece to the back as shown in the video. Now we can go ahead and test it out. Now we'll set our mechanism aside and we'll add a piece of 5 7/8" by 5 3/8" decorative cardstock to our base page. I'm going to go ahead and ink up those edges to give it a finished look. I'll use some liquid adhesive to adhere that to the base page. I'll use my bone folder to make sure that's nice and secure. I have a piece of cardstock measuring 6 inches by 4 7/8 inches. I'm scoring this cardstock at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. I'll use my scissors to miter the corners. I'm adhering a piece of 4 7/8 inch by 4 1/4 inch cardstock to the front of the pocket we just created. I'll use my bone folder to make sure that's nice and secure. I'm going to use this Lawn Fawn rectangle die to create a window. However, you can use any shaped die you'd like. I'll go ahead and start folding the top and bottom pieces at the score line. Now we'll add double-sided tape all the way around the edges of our frame, and this is how we'll adhere our acetate to the pocket. Now we can remove our paper backing and add our acetate. We want to make sure we fully adhere our acetate and that it is nice and smooth. I'll fold our 2 sides at the score lines. adding one piece of double-sided tape to the top of our pocket. This will be used to secure that fold right over the acetate so that our picture doesn't get hung up on the acetate when we're moving it in and out of the pocket. I'm going to use a bit of liquid adhesive as well to make sure the portions that are secured to the cardstock are secured well. Here we have a 4 5/8 inch by 4 inch piece of cardstock and a 4.5 inch by 3 7/8 inch piece of decorative cardstock. I've already gone ahead and inked up the edges. We also have a piece of ribbon that is 1 inch by 3/8 inches, and this will be used as a pull tab. Take a small piece of double-sided tape and use that to adhere the ribbon to itself, making a loop. We'll adhere the bottom part of our ribbon to the center top of our black cardstock. We'll adhere our decorative cardstock right over the front and on top of the ribbon. Now we'll take our 5 1/8 inch by 4.5 inch piece of cardstock and cover our mechanism. We want to add our adhesive to the side rails only, so just right here on these 1/4 inch strips. We want to be careful with the adhesive here and ensure that none of it seeps out of the side towards the mechanism. We want to make sure it's nice and straight. Now we can give it a little test. Now we'll adhere the mechanism to the base page. We're just going to add some adhesive to those 1/4 inch strips only and try to ensure that our adhesive does not seep into our mechanism. Now we can adhere the acetate pocket we created to the front of our mechanism. When adhering pockets, I like to adhere the bottom piece first. It makes it easier to keep it straight. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe and ring that bell so you can be notified when we release new content. Now that our pocket is nice and secure, we can test out our mechanism again. And our page is complete. Now that all of our pages are complete, we can begin adhering them into the book. I'm placing liquid adhesive on both sides of the first tab. Now I'm opening up the pocket of the pocket page just a little bit so I can slip it over that tab. We want the page to be just about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch from the back of the book. This will give that page a little bit of room to move. I'm going to use my bone folder and my hands to ensure that the adhesive is nice and secure. And we'll do the same thing for the next 2 pages. Going to use a 5 5/8 by 4 5/8 piece of cardstock to cover each of the pull-out pages. I'm applying ink to the edges to give it a nice finished look. We'll use liquid adhesive and adhere these decorative pages to the cardstock. I'll add a camera stamp with some Distress Oxide. And we'll do the same thing with the remaining 2 pull-out pages. And now we can insert our pull-out pages to the pockets. Here I have some additional photo mats and decorative paper. The photo mats are cut to whatever size you'd like that'll fit in the pocket, and the decorative pieces are an 1/8 inch smaller on each side. I'm inking up the edges of the decorative cardstock and adhering it to the base cardstock. I'm going to add some journaling cards to the pockets as well. However, I'm using fairy wings since I did not have any fairy dust journaling cards. For some finishing touches, I'm going to use some Swarovski flat back crystals. Once I've decided where I want to place the crystals, I'll use some glossy accents to adhere them. Now I'm going to add the strings of beads and charms that I've created to go on the spine. If you'd like to see a video about how I made this dangle of charms, let me know in the comments. Fairy Dust mini album is now complete. Thank you so much for watching and joining me on this Fairy Dust mini album journey. I look forward to seeing you in the next project. Happy crafting!